قلبي برحمتك اللهم دونسي في السر والجهر والإصباح والغلس قلبي برحمتك اللهم دونسي في السر والجهر والإصباح والغلس قلبي
برحمتك اللهم دونسي في السر والجهر والإصباح والغلس قلبي برحمتك اللهم دونسي في السر والجهر والإصباح والغلس
وما تقلبت من نومي وفي سنتي إلا وذكرك بين النفس والنفس وما تقلبت من نومي وفي سنتي إلا وذكرك بين النفس والنفس قلبي برحمتك اللهم دونسي
في السر برحمتك اللهم ذو أنس في السر والجهر والإصباح والغلس.
لقد مننت على قلبي بمعرفة بأنك الله ذو الآلاء والقدس. وقد أتيت ذنوبا أنت تعلمها ولم تكن فاضحي فيها بفعل مسيء. لقد مننت على قلبي بمعرفة بأنك الله ذو الآلاء والقدس. وقد أتيت ذنوبا أنت تعلمها ولم تكن فاضحي فيها بفعل مسيء. قلبي برحمتك اللهم ذو أنس.
قلبي برحمتك اللهم ذو أنس في السر والجهر والإصباح والغلس. قلبي برحمتك اللهم ذو أنس في السر والجهر والإصباح والغلس.
فمن علي بذكر الصالحين ولا تجاعل علي إذا في الدين من لبسي. فمن علي بذكر الصالحين ولا تجاعل علي إذا في الدين من لبسي. وكن معي طول دنياي وآخرتي ويوم حشري بما أنزلت في عبسي.
قلبي برحمتك اللهم ذو أنس في السر والجهر والإصباح والغلس. قلبي برحمتك اللهم ذو أنس في السر والجهر والإصباح والغلس.
الصبح بدا من طلعته والليل دجى من وفرته. الله 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 الله. فأقر الرسل أهدى السبل هذه كنز الكرم مولى النعم هذه الأمم لإجابته كنز الكرم مولى النعم هذه الأمم لإجابته الله 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 سعد الشجر نطق الحجر شق القمر بإشارته الله 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 فمحمدنا هو سيدنا فالعز لنا لإجابته فمحمدنا هو سيدنا فالعز لنا لإجابته الله 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 فأقر سلا فضلا وعلا عمن بلغا من أمته فأقر سلا فضلا وعلا عمن بلغا من أمته الله 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 الله
ربنا يا ربنا 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 या इलाही हर जगह तेरी अता का साथ हो या इलाही हर जगह तेरी अता का साथ हो या इलाही हर जगह तेरी अता का साथ हो जब बड़े मुश्किल शहे मुश्किल कुशा का साथ हो जब बड़े मुश्किल शहे मुश्किल कुशा का साथ हो रब्बाना या रब्बाना रब्बाना या रब्बाना रब्बाना या रब्बाना रब्बाना या रब्बाना या इलाही भूल जाऊं नज़रा की तकलीफ को या इलाही भूल जाऊं नज़रा की तकलीफ को शादी दीदार हुस्ने मुस्तफा का साथ हो शादी दीदार हुस्ने मुस्तफा का साथ हो रब्बाना या रब्बाना रब्बाना या रब्बाना रब्बाना या रब्बाना रब्बाना या रब्बाना या इलाही गोरे पीरा की जबाए सरात या इलाही गोरे पीरा की जबाए सरात उनके प्यारे मुँह की सुबह जाफ़िज़ा का साथ हो उनके प्यारे मुँह की सुबह जाफ़िज़ा का साथ हो रब्बाना या रब्बाना रब्बाना या रब्बाना रब्बाना या रब्बाना پوش خلق ستارے فتح کا ساتھ ہو، عیب پوش خلق ستارے فتح کا ساتھ ہو، ربنا یا ربنا ربنا یا ربنا ربنا یا ربنا ربنا یا ربنا، یا الہی گرمی محشر سے جب بھڑکے بدن، یا الہی گرمی محشر سے جب بھڑکے بدن، دامن محبوب کی ٹھنڈی ہوا کا ساتھ ہو، دامن محبوب کی ٹھنڈی ہوا کا ساتھ ہو، ربنا یا ربنا ربنا یا ربنا ربنا یا ربنا ربنا یا ربنا، یا الہی جب زبان باہر آئے پیاس سے، یا الہی جب زبان باہر آئے پیاس سے، صاحب کوثر شہ جود و عطا کا ساتھ ہو، صاحب کوثر شہ جود و عطا کا ساتھ ہو، ربنا یا ربنا ربنا یا ربنا ربنا یا ربنا ربنا یا ربنا، یا الہی جب حساب خندائے بے جار لائے، یا الہی جب حساب خندائے بے جار لائے، چشم گریان شفیع مرتجا کا ساتھ ہو، چشم گریان شفیع مرتجا کا ساتھ ہو، ربنا یا ربنا ربنا یا ربنا ربنا یا ربنا ربنا یا ربنا، یا الہی جب پڑے محشر میں شور داروگیر، یا الہی جب پڑے محشر میں شور داروگیر، امن دینے والے پیارے پیشوا کا ساتھ ہو، امن دینے والے پیارے پیشوا کا ساتھ ہو، ربنا یا ربنا ربنا یا ربنا ربنا یا ربنا ربنا یا ربنا، یا الہی سرد موری پر ہو جب خورشید حشر، یا الہی سرد موری پر ہو جب خورشید حشر، سید بے سایہ کے ذل لوا کا ساتھ ہو، سید بے سایہ کے ذل لوا کا ساتھ ہو، ربنا یا ربنا ربنا یا ربنا ربنا یا ربنا ربنا یا ربنا، یا الہی جب چلے تاریک راہ پل صراط، یا الہی جب چلے تاریک راہ پل صراط، آفتاب ہاشمی نور الہدی کا ساتھ ہو، آفتاب ہاشمی نور الہدی
Walking through the crowded streets of a market in Morocco, sitting on a smiling camel in the desert of Arabia, chasing round the bamboo trees of Bandung, Indonesia, gathering brightly colored leaves in a forest of Canada, napping neath the date palm shade under blue skies of Tunisia, sweeping out his parents' shop on a side street in Pakistan, planting rows of beans and maize on a small farm in Uganda, laying back to count the stars from somewhere in Afghanistan. Oh, sing, children of the world, come together and hear the call. Sing, children of the world, Islam will unite us all sing, children of the world. Come together and hear the call, sing, children of the world. Islam will unite us all, subhanallah, walhamdulillah, wallahu akbar. Subhanallah, walhamdulillah, wallahu akbar. Splashing through the pouring rain in a village of Guyana, nibbling cakes from picnic plates on a mountaintop in Switzerland, tending to a flock of sheep down under in Australia, greeting morning with a prayer on the golden Egyptian sand. Oh, sing, children of the world, come together and hear the call. Sing, children of the world, Islam will unite us all. Sing, children of the world, come together and hear the call. Sing, children of the world, Islam will unite us all. Subhanallah, walhamdulillah, wallahu akbar. Subhanallah, walhamdulillah, wallahu akbar.
راجع لك يا بلادي يا أولى من أولادي، وبحبك رح نادي يا أجمل عنوان. انت الأمل الباقي فيك الحب بلاقي، يا فرحة أشواقي يا عمر المنصان. بكرة بينسى قلبي كل أيام الصعبة، مليت من الغربة وسنين الحرمان، وبتحلى أوقاتي وبترجع ضحكاتي، بتتزين ساحاتي بأبهى الألوان، بأبهى الألوان. رجعلك يا بلادي يا أغلى من أولادي، يا أجمل عنوان. انت الأمل الباقي فيك الحب بلاقي، يا فرحة أشواقي يا عمر المنصان. قلبي كل أيام الصعبة، مليت من الغربة وسنين الحرمان، وبتحلى أوقاتي وبترجع ضحكاتي، تتزين ساحاتي بأبهى الألوان، بأبهى الألوان. بكرة بشوف أحبابي وأهلي وكل أصحابي، طال كتير غيابي ودوبني الهجران. لما بكون الحالي شوف أحبابي قبالي، وبسافر بخيالي وبسبوق الزمان. يا وطني يا غالي، وعيوني مثلالي أجمل من مكان. كل اسم بتحملني ولبلادي توصلني، والفرحة بتغمرني وتعم المكان. يا فرحة أيامي لو صارت أحلامي، يا عيوني لتنامي وقت الرجعة حال، وقت الرجعة حال. رجعلك يا بلادي يا أغلى من أولادي، وبحبك رح نادي يا أجمل عنوان، يا أجمل عنوان. فيك الحب بلادي بكرة بينسى قلبي كل أيام الصعب غربي وسنين الحرمان، وبتحلى أوقاتي وترجع بركاتي تتزين ساعاتي
سماوات
كتير بفكر فيكي ومن قلبي بعطيكي يا بلادي جايكي ودع الأحزان، حبك شو بيحلالي قربك شو بيهنالي يا غاية آمالي أنا فيك الولهان. شمت غابك وتأمل عتابك شو خلاني غيابك مهموم وحيران، يا أهل استنوني يا قلبي ويا عيوني يا صحابي هنوني راجع للأوطان. يا فرحة أيامي لو صارت أحلامي يا عيوني لا تنامي وقت الرجعة حان، وقت الرجعة حان. يا أولى من أولادي وبحبك رح نادي يا أجمل عنوان، يا أجمل فيك الحب الغالي يا فرحة أشواقي يا بكرة بينسى قلبي كل أيام الصعبة مليت من الغربة وسنين الحرمان، وبتحلى أوقاتي وبترجع بحياتي تتزين ساعاتي.
سبيل الدموع سبيل مريح تنهد يا صاحي كي تستريح وبث الدعاء الخفي الصريح يسعك الفضاء الرحيم الفسيح.
سبيل الدموع سبيل مريح تنهد يا صاحي كي تستريح وبث الدعاء الخفي الصريح يسعك الفضاء الرحيم الفسيح. سبيل الدموع سبيل مريح تنهد يا صاحي كي تستريح وبث الدعاء الخفي الصريح يسعك الفضاء الرحيب الفسيح. فبالله كم تستطب القروح ويبرأ جروح الكسير الجريح وينشط ذاك السقيم العليل وقد كان بالسقم دهرا طريق. تقال العثار العظام به ويغدو الهوى ككبش ذبيح بذكر الإله تطيب الحياة تسر أسارير وجه صبيح تسر أسارير وجه صبيح. سبيل الدموع سبيل مريح تنهد يا صاحي كي تستريح وبث الدعاء الخفي الصريح يسعك الفضاء الرحيم الفسيح. سبيل الدموع سبيل مريح تنهد يا صاحي كي تستريح وبث الدعاء الخفي الصريح يسعك الفضاء الرحيب الفسيح. تنحى يا حزن واهجر فؤادا توكل بجد بعزم فصيح فإني علمت بأنك نجوى ولبس خبيث مضل قبيح. تبختر ترجل بصوت وخيل فما لك في الأرض درب صحيح. إلى الله عدنا وبالله نذنا ليطوى زمان بائس شحيح. ليطوى زمان بائس شحيح. سبيل الدموع سبيل مريح. تنهدى يا صاحي كي تستريح وبث الدعاء الخفي الصريح. يسعك الفضاء الرحيب الفسيح. سبيل الدموع سبيل مريح. تنهدى يا صاحي كي تستريح وبث الدعاء الخفي الصريح. يسعك الفضاء الرحيب الفسيح.
الورد ويا الازهار والدر والجماني غنت فرح وتختار من اروع المعاني. الورد ويا الازهار والدر والجماني غنت فرح وتختار من اروع المعاني. والجو فيها الأطيار تحمل لك التهاني مضمون كل الأشعار مبروك يا أماني. والجو فيها الأطيار تحمل لك التهاني مضمون كل الأشعار مبروك يا أماني. مبروك يا أماني. ماد العزم والإصرار والبذل والتفاني تتحقق الأماني. تتحقق الأماني. بعد العزم والإصرار والبذل والتفاني تتحقق الأماني. تتحقق الأماني. الورد ويا الأزهار والدر والجماني غنت فرح وتختار من أروع المعاني. من أروع المعاني. من أروع المعاني. الصباح قصيدة عربية والشمس ترشدها فلا تتلعثم. كانت ربوع القدس أرضا حرة ترعى كرامتنا بها وتعظم. يأتي إليها الفجر طفلا أشقرا ولسانه بالذكريات يتمتم. كنا بها الأحباب يجمع بيننا دين ينم شتاتنا وينظم. ومضت بنا الأيام ليل حالك يسطو وفجر ضاحك يتهجم. ومضت بنا الأيام بيت رذيلة يبنى وبيت فضيلة يتهدم. ومضت بنا الأيام مركب حسرة ينجو وزورق فرحة يتحطم. ومضت بنا الأيام موكب بعزمنا متوقف وعدونا يتقدم.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. This is not the the start of the program per se. I just want to make an announcement with regards to the performance of Maghrib Salah. The waqt of Maghrib is nearly upon us, and so I'm just want to direct persons in terms of making a movement to the Salah area as smoothly as possible. So if we were to exit the hall, on the left hand side where the bathrooms are, there's a set of stairs and a staircase that takes us to the upstairs. Wudu facilities available in the bathrooms, and there are facilities for ladies as well. So please enjoy the starters. I'm not going to rush you, but quickly. And then we move towards the Maghrib area, and immediately thereafter, inshallah, we'll commence with the program. Whilst we are perhaps, when we have a few minutes after the Salah, and we know I haven't quite started, I'm going to ask you to please, and some of you I know did do that, to look at the photographs and to look at some of the exhibits, and that will provide greater context as to what this evening is all about. So as soon as, and I think that's the adhan going off, we'll perform our Maghrib Salah upstairs, inshallah. Shukran.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Please can we find our seats and settle down, inshallah. If you're at the back, there's some empty seats on my left-hand side. And on my right, there's some seats this side here as well. Uncle G, can I just get a cue from the back? That'd be okay to start? Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. On behalf of the African Muslims Agency, my name is Hussein Chanara. And on behalf of the African Muslims Agency, we'd like to welcome every single one of you sitting here tonight at the AMA's One Child, One Dream Dinner of Dreams here at the Gausia Manzil in Cape Town. African Muslims Agency would like to welcome the ulama present today. AMA would like to welcome all staff and volunteers here in the Western Cape and from across the country. We'd like to make a special welcome to the delegation members who are part of the delegation in Lebanon in the refugee camps that were present in the opening of the Amman School of Excellence by African Muslims Agency, a school that facilitates formal education for 650 children, Syrian and Palestinian refugees and Lebanese children, from kindergarten to grade 9. A school that's called Amman, Amman which means safety. And with safety comes hope. With safety comes opportunity. With safety, there's people are able to dream. There's a space of comfort. Mentioning about the delegation from Cape Town was part of the delegation. We'd like to welcome Auntie Nadia Jacobs and her family. Also like to welcome from Cape Town, part of the delegation it was present in Lebanon. Keynote speaker at the event, we'd like to welcome Uncle Ashraf Gangrika and his family. Also like to welcome all partners, media partners. This is going live out on Salam Media on air. Also live streaming on all social media at African Muslims Agency. Welcome to all the listeners and viewers as well. We'd like to make a special welcome to Uncle Joe and his lovely wife, Auntie Nurjahan. Shukran for coming through. Before we begin, I would like to call upon Qari Nadim Dawood to open tonight's proceeding with a qira. Before I call Qari Sab up, I've heard Qari recite before. And the first time I've heard him recite, I've seen how Qari he had a voice box that day, a boom box. But no doubt he didn't need it. Because what came from his recitation, his love, his passion, his conviction, the energy he put into his recitation, really touched me, and it's a day that I remember. A bit of background about Qari Nadim Dawood. He studied the sciences of Tajweed, Qira'ah, Arabic, and Tafsir on a tertiary level, and went on to study different modes of recitation. He then further pursued voice training and studied the arts of the Arabian melodies under leading local and international scholars. He has been authorized with an ijaza, a license to transmit, as well as isnad, allowing to form part of an accredited chain of transmission, which has been endorsed by the Azhar University of Egypt. Qari has been reciting worldwide, and I've got the list, and I can go on and on many media platforms. Please help me welcome Qari Nadim Dawood to open tonight's proceedings, inshallah.
Perfect. Add the effects. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Just the sound effects, please. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم عما يتساءلون عن النبأ العظيم الذي هم فيه مختلفون كلا سيعلمون ثم كلا سيعلمون ألم نجعل الأرض مهادا والجبال أوتادا وخلقناكم أزواجا وجعلنا نومكم سباتا وجعلنا الليل لباسا وجعلنا النهار معاشا وبنينا فوقكم سبعا شدادا وجعلنا سراجا وهاجا وأنزلنا من المعصرات ماء ثجاجا لنخرج به حبا ونباتا وجنات ألفافا إن يوم الفصل كان ميقاتا يوم ينفخ في الصور فتأتون أفواجا وفتحت السماء فكانت أبوابا وسيرت الجبال فكانت سرابا إن جهنم كانت مرصادا للطاغين مآبا لابثين فيها أحقابا لا يذوقون فيها بردا ولا شرابا إلا حميما وغساقا جزاء وفاقا إنهم كانوا لا يرجون حسابا وكذبوا بآياتنا كذابا وكل شيء أحصيناه كتابا فذوقوا فلن نزيدكم إلا عذابا إن للمتقين مفازا حدائق وأعنابا وكواعب أترابا وكأسا دهاقا لا يسمعون فيها لغوا ولا كذابا جزاء من ربك عطاء حسابا رب السماوات والأرض وما بينهما الرحمن لا يملكون منه خطابا يوم يقوم الروح والملائكة صفا لا يتكلمون إلا من أذن له الرحمن وقال صوابا ذلك اليوم الحق فمن شاء واتخذ إلى ربه مآبا إنا أنذرناكم عذابا قريبا يوم ينظر المرء ما قدمت يداه ويقول الكافر يا ليتني كنت ترابا. صدق الله العلي العظيم وصدق رسوله النبي الكريم ونحن على ذلك لمن الشاهدين والشاكرين والحمد لله رب العالمين.
MashaAllah, MashaAllah, Qari Nadeem Dawood. I don't know how to express thanks to Qari Nadeem for that melodious, that passionate recitation, other than to say, Qari Sahib, every reward that Allah promises for someone who memorizes the Quran, for someone who studies the Quran, for someone who teaches the Quran, and someone who shares the word of the Quran. May Allah grant you that reward, Qari Nadeem. And may your words go to the corners of the world and into the hearts of millions, so that we may continue to live by that constitution. Insha'Allah, shukran for being here this evening. I mentioned about delegation. Also, I mentioned about Auntie Nadia Jacobs and Uncle Ashraf Gangrika, and we're going to hear from them shortly, inshallah. I also want to make mention to delegates who are part of the delegation who traveled from Johannesburg. Safia Ali, we'd like to welcome you. Was also part of the ladies' delegation, was opening of the Aman School, as well as Yasmin Musaji, also from Johannesburg, being here. You guys would have met them as you came through the foyer. You're going to be hearing from them as we go through the evening. Please note, all COVID protocols apply in this venue. Please be aware of the person next to you and try and keep your mask on when not eating at all times, inshallah. So the Aman, what is one child, one dream? On your tables right now, you see one child, one dream. On your invite, you would have seen one child, one dream. There's scrolls next to your plates. Has information of the Aman School, a school that was opened by AMA just over a month ago in Lebanon. Much of this information will be shared as we go through the program tonight, as we hear from the likes of the speakers that are lined up, as well as heading into a panel discussion here on stage. And inshallah, thereafter heading into an auction led by none other than Uncle Joe Highlight. We talk about dreams. And as you've come through the foyer, if you didn't have a chance before you leave, please make some time to spend and watch the gallery in front and understand the stories behind the pictures. And as you come past the gallery in the foyer, you go to you see a jar of dreams. That jar has dreams. That jar is from the refugee camp. It has the dreams of children in the Yasmin camp in the Bekaa Valley in Lebanon, for the purpose of bringing it to South Africa to raise awareness and funding for refugee children and their education. And as you come down the staircase, you see this big tree in front of you. And on this tree, there's dreams hanging. You see, maybe in the camps, and we ask children, what is your dream? Maybe dream is a fairy word. What is it you want to become in life? Some of them don't want to become anything. But some determine their dreams by the situation that they're living in. For example, the young girl we met at 17 years old who has 9 other siblings, she says she wants to become a doctor because why? So she can help her sick brother. 7-year-old Nidal, he's pictured up front in the gallery. We ask him, Nidal, what is your dream? He wants to become a pilot. His home is smaller than the stage. You ask him, why do you want to become a pilot? So I can fly my family away from the situation. So when we're sitting here tonight, and as you see the dreams on the trees and on your tables, and in front of the gallery, the question mark is not about the dreams of the refugee children. My brothers and my sisters, and those watching live on live streaming on Africa Muslims Agency social media pages and on Salam Media, the question mark tonight is about your dream. Why are you here tonight? Why are you watching tonight? You see, Allah, when I was sitting in the camp just over 2 months ago, when I met a young mother, 22 years old, and the 3 children. And for the past month before, she couldn't find her husband. They suffer from a serious medical condition. And when the mother looks at you and says, I thought many times to kill myself and my children, then I realized that it's not about the dreams of those that are receiving. It's about the dreams of the people who are sitting here right now. Allah was testing me more than her. So I ask you tonight, if you got a piece of paper, maybe on your cell phone, maybe on the person's shirt in front of you, write down your dream. What's in your heart? Maybe it's a fear, maybe it's a worry. But what is it burn inside your heart? What is it something inside so strong? What is the deal with Allah? Amongst today's challenges, in today's times that we're living in, you are sitting at this venue. Many of you have commitments elsewhere because of Allah's plan. And if Allah brought us together tonight, there's a purpose. And right now, 650 children, refugee children, and vulnerable Lebanese children, are pleading for your support. But in this process, you are fulfilling your dream. You are fulfilling your deal with Allah. Because remember, Allah doesn't need you and I. But He brings us to our attention so we can fulfill what's in our heart. Maybe we're sitting here right now, and maybe we're missing a loved one who's passed on. Maybe we're thinking of someone. Maybe we're happy, we're excited. So let's fulfill what's in your heart. And in that process, you'll be fueling the dreams of those that are receiving. And Allah accept from you. Also on the tables, there's information. There'll be some forms which you can fill out as you're listening. You may want to pledge out to the auction live, or you want to make a silent pledge. The details are all on the scrolls in front of you. You can complete that and put it in the jar on your table, and the staff will come through and collect it later, inshallah. Inside the jars on your table are dreams of refugee children. Please feel free to look at them, understand them. You'll see many of them don't have words because the children are illiterate. But they try and draw whatever they think, their mind can think. And these are the dreams you want to fulfill, inshallah. I think we're going to a video first.
Just like any other country, Lebanon is a country that hosts a high percentage of refugees. And for 10 years in a row, we still have more than half the refugee children out of education and out of any learning opportunity. It has been since then necessary to establish a pilot project, a formal school, to enroll out-of-school children and provide them the chance to get a certification because this is one of their basic rights. Aman School Project is a unique project that is now enrolling 650 children from the most vulnerable communities, the refugee community and the Lebanese host community. But this wouldn't be happening without the generous donations of people worldwide. We really seek to replicate this project in more than one country to be able to achieve our sustainable development goal, that is providing education, and not only education, quality education to every child in need. To visit the website www.africamuslimsagency.co.za.
I'd like to call upon a gentleman who was my principal, who I admire immensely. I learned from him. And one thing Uncle Ashraf Gangrika, a community man, especially in the Western Cape, people would know him well, the owner of Oracle Academy. One thing that really strikes me about Uncle Ashraf, he has a heart to care Uncle Ashraf has given his entire life for fueling thousands of children's dreams. And I saw him earlier standing there as people walked in. Some already white in the hair, greeting him, "You are my teacher." And some young ones still greeting him. So I'd like to call upon Uncle Ashraf Garika, who was part of the delegation at the opening of the Aman School, to share with us his perspective and some ideas as well, inshallah.
Okay. All right. You think so? Good. You sure? Lovely. Go away. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Respected ulama, brothers and sisters, innocent children. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. All thanks and praises are due to Allah, by whose grace all things are made possible. I want to thank Hafiz Hussein for the beautiful introduction to the context of the evening and for the kind words he said about me. I want to remind him, though, when he said to me, yes, it was true that the silver-haired man said to me, "You were my teacher." And so Hussein, who loves me so much, he copied my hairstyle. I was his principal as well. And so I want to add my voice to the words of welcome to an evening of magic, because this is what it is. I just want us to pause for a little bit and think that we braved the elements. So yesterday and the day before, 100-kilometer winds. 100 didn't really happen. Then it was going to storm today. And obviously we thought, hey, what about our function? And our faith is with Allah that people will come, those who will not come will get on the ark, whatever the case may be. And all of you came, irrespective as to the weather. And so Hussein's point that this is part of Allah's plan, this is the reality. But as I stood here and I seen some of the persons come, an elderly person came in late. As I speak about the weather. That's all right, you're inside, man, relax. And so when I hear that, and I saw my brother, he's sitting at the back, he comes with a blue jersey and he was pretty soaked. His darling wife is busy dusting the raindrops from him. I think to myself, first, for us, let's be local, man. That's what we are. Let's be a thought for the persons in the informal settlements, and now they will struggle. And there's a pic as you came in on your left-hand side of the Syrian refugee tents in Lebanon when it rains. There is no road, there is only mud. And the tents, I want to explain to you, it's plastic. It is not a constructed corrugated iron shack, maybe the way we know it here. So these white plastic sheeting constitutes a tent. And in Lebanon in winter, and that's what they are going into, there is snow, there is slate, there is ice, there is death. Persons freeze to death in Lebanon, in the Syrian refugee camps. And so these are brothers and sisters, part of humanity, who live like this, who see no future. So the adults in all of us, if Allah has blessed us with children, you live to make a better life for your kids. And so whatever sacrifice we need to make is so our children must have better lives. Our grandfathers did it, whether we came from the Indo-Pak continent or from Southeast Asia, as in Malaysia, Indonesia. We came and we worked hard so that the kids can have better. And then the bottom line is this, because it's a point I want to make. So persons, for example, of the Indo-Pak continent, they were traders, found a corner, put up a shop. We as children worked in that shop, but we went to school. And then came the biggest difference. In all our families, when the first child went to university, it was the easiest thing to send the second and the third and the fourth child. So that my children, the only time they go into a shop now is to buy something. So that in our community, this is a norm. As Hussein Hamda says, I'm at Oracle. So I interview parents and they come to us whether in grade 8 as new kids, Hafiz learners who've been out of school come in grade 10 and maybe 11, and we all matriculate. And so the notion to ask is, so what do you want to do? And nobody says, I have no dreams. It's impossible. So a little kids might say to you, I'm not sure yet. Because what am I asking? I'm asking a 12, 13-year-old, what do you want to do for the rest of your life? Let's be honest, 40-year-old, 50-year-old people don't know that. But just what are you thinking of? And so this was my experience. It was a privilege to be part of the group, an honor to be part of the delegation. So there was the highlight, literally a month ago on the 27th of October, the opening of the school. I'll come to that in a sec. So we go off to the camps from the day of arrival, a series of camps to visit humanity. And wallahi, my brothers and sisters here, I'm telling you, the levels of human despair, it has no limit. There is no limit. Every day, one would break down in tears and I'd say, no, okay, that was the worst story I've heard. And the next day it was worse. And the next day, in terms of the stories, in terms of the experience, it was the most enriching thing in my life. And so as a teacher, I'd meet these little children and say, so what are your dreams? What do you want to do when you're big? And the first time I asked that question, just a normal question, I thought, to ask of a young person, perhaps going into teenager years or even smaller. This child says to me, I have no dreams. Dreams are not for us. Our dreams never come true. And I first thought, man, what are you talking about? Who on earth says that? So I'm telling you from my experience here at school, I've been involved in schooling for a little bit too long. And so I know how things work. We go to school. I must go to what we as parents think is a good school, come to Oracle. And so we go to good schools. And Mr. Khan, voucher me, please. Thank you. And so we go to good schools. Why? Because we must go to good universities. And they must get a good job and live in a nice area and be comfortable. If we hold that view, we are so short-sighted and we deny our children life. Because we must raise children not to be children of success, but children of value. And so this Saturday evening, I was sitting in a tent of a Syrian family. The father's arm been blown off in the war. And the mother and 4 children, and I want to say to you, the children are incredibly affectionate. Okay, I see that. Thank you, sir. Incredibly affectionate. And so this little child, 7-year-old, is sitting next to me. So everybody's speaking in Arabic, and alhamdulillah, we have persons with us in terms of the crew who could be translating for us. So I say to this little child, and what is your name? And she says to me, my name is Suad. I mean, in Arabic via the translation, yes. So I said to her, what is your dream? And again, we have no dreams. What must I dream about? So, sometimes for us here in Cape Town, I'm not going to say to you, it's a flippant comment, not like that. It's sometimes just a throwaway line. Don't worry, inshallah. And I said to this little child, don't worry, inshallah, you're going to go to school. And this little child who had sat quietly the entire evening, ultra obedient, and she had put her hand on my arm, she jumped up and wagged a finger in my face. And then she was, rapping in Arabic, really a verbal tirade directed at me, and I asked the translator, and she says to me, Mr. Ashraf, no, I'm not going to tell you. So I said, no, I want to hear what did this girl say to me. And this little girl said to me, don't say to me, inshallah. I don't believe in inshallah, 7 years old. She says, every day I ask my mommy, when am I going to school? And my mommy saying, Suad, inshallah, you're going to go. I don't like inshallah, I don't believe in inshallah. But I want to believe you. I don't know if I can believe you, but I want to believe you. I was seriously taken aback. And then she gives me the clinching line. And she says to me, send me to school. I will make you proud of me. I'm a teacher, man. He's a little 7-year-old kid. Send me to school. I will make you proud of me. We slept in the camp that night. We woke up. Now, alhamdulillah, sleeping in the camp, stunning experience. One night. Because we'll live there. Those of us who've been to Makkah many years ago, when we slept on Mina on the floor, yeah, it's like that. Little thin mat on the floor. That's it. When we woke up the next morning, the little girl was standing outside. She came and held on to me. And she said to me, I want to believe you. I want to believe you. I want to go to school. It's one of the most magical moments on the trip. There's a picture of her. Never mind me. I just happened to be with her. That's outside in the gallery. One of the most magical moments was on the 27th of October, the Amman school had its official opening, was to see little Suad come towards me in her school uniform. So this evening, and I need to wrap this up, you're going to hear heart-rending stories. But I don't want the evening to be about the stories and about the hardship and the struggle of people. I want it to be an evening of hope. The evening must be of hope that we can provide. Nothing to do with me that Suad is in school. We are vehicles, man. But Suad has a school uniform. It will change her life and every other life that she touches, and the lives of 650 other persons at the Amman School of Excellence. Because listen to me nicely. The school exists. It is real, tangible, to be touched. Teaching and learning is taking place. It's not a pipe dream. It is there. Those kids are happy, excited. Because this is what education does. Apart from illiteracy, so that 14, 15-year-old kids are unable to read and write their name. But in terms of their self-esteem, they speak about issues like, we are mocked, ridiculed. Other children say to us, are you from this planet? Now you think of the emotional development of this child. Girls 10, 11, 12, 13, they're working to pay the landlord because this is the system. If you don't, a question of let's put up the tent and live there. No, sir. We put up the tent, you need to pay rent. That goes up. It started maybe at $10. Lebanon itself is in crisis, so the price is suddenly $100. Rent. So they work on the fields, open to exploitation, sexual harassment. And so to have young girls getting married at 13, 14 is not uncommon. Schooling and education can change that. Because when we give these children, our children, education, we change their futures. So I need you to understand this point, right? So to empower them with the skills of literacy, with the skills of numeracy, it means they are able to teach others. So when Hussein correctly is speaking about, what is our role? Our role is to make sure those children stay in school. And by Allah's mercy and grace and the initiative of African Muslim Agency, the aim is to duplicate and replicate this school in so many other areas. So alhamdulillah, by Allah's mercy, 650 kids are in school for real, legit, with school bags and school books. The Lebanese curriculum is taught by qualified Lebanese teachers. There is full certification. So these kids, as the video says, from grade R until grade 9, and that's for us is the start of high school. Inshallah, they will finish high school and go to university. As a speaker at another function said, what if the cure to cancer lies in the heart and the mind of one of those children in that school that you've sponsored? Because that's the reality, isn't it? That's the potential that we are talking about. And so this evening, I'm going to go back to the sense of hope. That we must live in a time of hope. Those of us who are able to increase the amount of hope, let it be so. And quite honestly, we're speaking in financial means. Hussein speaks about, then I'll speak about it later again, the issue of the dream jar. So for us in our lives, let's be honest, Allah has blessed us with children. Very few of us, I don't know anybody in this room who has the notion that my child won't go to school. It is a given. We move our homes into areas where we think the good schools are. Nothing wrong with that, it's okay. We plan the issue of schooling. These people plan the issue of surviving, so that they will choose food over transport to school, over books. They will choose to go and work to be a breadwinner so we can make the family survive. So what is this all about? 650 kids at the Amman School of Excellence in the Beqa Valley of Lebanon. The cost of that per annum is 16,000 rand. Now I'm going to stand here and say, well, I'm well aware of the financial situation in our country for all of us. And so there's an easy way. If Allah has blessed us with wealth, there's nothing to feel guilty about. Enjoy it as long as you share it. It's that simple. Enjoy, I'm not here to guilt you, not in any way. If we have been blessed with wealth, it is a blessing. As long as we understand that it doesn't belong to us. We are but custodians thereof. And so the cost is 16,000. For a lot of people, that's a lot of money. But I want to say to you this, we're all sitting around a table. And we have friends and family at home. You pay this in any way that you want to. 16 up front, that's great. If not, 1,600 rand over 10 months. For a lot of people, that could be a lot of money. But if you had 8 people, and you each gave 200 bucks, that's maybe more palatable. If you had 16 people, you all gave 100 rand, that's even easier. This is what you're going to get. You're going to get a child with his or her dreams. There is no bigger joy. There is no bigger joy. Because really you will adopt this academic child, the academic performance of this child. You will get the name of the child, quarterly reports as to how he or she is doing. And then inshallah they move on to the next grade, you will be part of that. So this is not a Mickey Mouse thing. The school is there. I want to invite you guys, come with us and you come and see the school. So 650 kids are there. Obviously we've raised sponsorship for some of them. But this evening is a part of awareness, but also the process of adoption. So I'm asking you, it's often, I see my coat on the wall there. Don't look into your wallets. Look into your heart. It's here. There are a lot of people Allah is blessed with money, but not with the spirit of giving. Prophet tells us in the beautiful hadith, if your heart is hard, rub the head of an orphan. This is the reality. It may be not quite your fault, but if you don't have the sense of caring, compassion, empathy, my brothers and sisters, there's something wrong. We live in a time of immense need across the world. Today we speak about Syrian refugee children predominantly, Lebanese kids of the underprivileged, and then Palestinian refugee children as well. I'm saying to you, in my opinion, I close with this, that the Syrian refugees have become the forgotten people of the world. 10 years ago when the Syrian war broke out, and we all watched aghast, and weeping, and voices raised in protest when the Syrian refugee crisis happened, and the Syrian people left their country in fear, and quite honestly, they had no choice. Met people who went to the market, came home, found their house was bombed. We saw them migrate across Europe. The iconic, supposedly iconic, but the most heart-wrenching pic of little 3-year-old Aylan lying with his face in the sand, with the waves washing over his lifeless body on the shores of Greece. The shock, the horror. 10 years later, no one is speaking Syrian refugees anymore. They are stuck. They are hopeless. They are homeless. The choice is simple. We can choose to hear and do nothing. Or we can say, we have heard And this is how we will respond, in kind and in cash. For one day we will all stand in the majestic court of Allah, and He will ask us about our wealth. I'm not here to guilt you. I'm providing you with an opportunity to share of that with those who need the most. I close with, as Hussein comes to stop me, because he knows I normally speak using not a watch but a calendar. Um, it's Nelson Mandela who said that to give and to uplift is not an act of charity, it's an act of justice. Let these children feel and understand the justice from the brothers and sisters in South Africa. Shukran. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Jazakallah, Uncle Ashraf. Allah bless you and your family. Always use you for the service of others here locally, globally, internationally. I'd like to call upon now the next speaker. And it won't be a speaker after speaker session, trust me. After I call up Auntie Nadia, we'll go into supper, inshallah. And thereafter into a panel discussion. Keep it light, keep it with hope, inshallah, like Uncle Ashraf says. I'd like to call upon Auntie Nadia Jacobs. Auntie Nadia and Uncle Ashraf, dynamic people. And what I mean by that is, so how I understand, how I got to know Auntie Nadia and Uncle Ashraf, is people with big hearts who are very active in serving communities right here in the Western Cape, in the most rural areas here in the Western Cape, and highlighting the need of water across the continent of Africa, and now serving the refugee children in Lebanon. Auntie Nadia, bismillah.
No, the stand is fine. I speak from the heart. No notes. I'll wrap it up. I'll make it as quick as possible. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. As everybody heard, this is Nadia Jacobs live from Cape Town. That was my favorite saying in Lebanon. And that's how the delegation knew me. Every little refugee camp we went to, it was always me. Everybody knows I'm always on my camera taking selfies with the orphans, taking selfies with the delegation. And there I was saying Nadia Jacobs live from Cape Town, because I was the only Cape Townian there, other than, of course, Mr. Ashraf Gangrika and Hafid Hussein, not Hussein, Imran Chunara, but they were separate from the ladies. We were there as a female delegation. So firstly, I want to say thank you to Amma, and thank you to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for choosing me to be part of this delegation to go to Lebanon. I came back and I'm not the same person I was before I left. I can never be the same person again. There are many, many stories I can relate to. Firstly, I want to say, do you like my sneakers? Do you like my sneakers? Okay, that's just so that I don't cry. I'm a very strong woman. I'm a very strong girl. I thought I had this. I thought I can do this. I can conquer the world. I can take on the whole world. But I didn't know I'm a chunky Bali. Wherever I went in, every tent I went in, I cried. And every time I cried, it was for a different reason. I promise you, every time I cried, it was for a different reason. And there is so many stories that resonate with me, but there's one particular story that I will tell. And, you know, we slept over in a refugee camp in one of the most dangerous, it's called a red zone, Arsal, in the Rahma camp. And we spent that time, the night in the camp. It was amazing. It was extremely uncomfortable, discomfort, no toilets, no, like poor conditions, no showers, nothing. All I told myself is this is only for one night. This is how these people live every single day. And we're not even in winter yet, but we froze to death that night. I borrowed my pajamas to one of my delegation. I said, I'll sleep in my tracksuit, it's okay, and I'll keep my sneakers on. You use my pajamas, that's how cold it was. And then to hear people tell me in the camp that sometimes we wake up and our children are dead next to us. They froze to death during winter, and we weren't even in winter yet. Then in the same camp, there's a long story. It's a lot of, I won't go into all the details, but all the puzzle fitted for me. Eventually, I met Taha. We ended up in her tent. I can't call it a house, in her tent. We were having breakfast in her tent after we woke up, no shower, and she offered us some coffee, and she said we must come into her tent and have breakfast with her and her family. After the breakfast, the people on the ground there interprets the story and says Taha, and I see this little boy hanging on Taha, and he calls her mother, and she thinks, so I think it's his mom, and I thought, okay, his mom's quite old, and he's hanging on his mom, and then they tell us that Taha, it's actually not her child, it is her grandchild, but he calls her mother because his mother died while giving birth to him. In fact, his mom was dead 3 to 5 minutes already when they removed him from her body. And now his grandmother is raising him, but his grandmother is actually his mother. He only knows his grandmother as his mother. Now that story resonates very well with me, because at that moment when they mentioned that, my whole childhood flashed in front of me, and I had the biggest meltdown ever. I came here tonight and I said, I'm not going to cry, I've got this, but forgive me if I get emotional, but my whole childhood flashed in front of me. He was 8 years old, and Taha told us that he doesn't want to go to school. He's working because he needs to feed his family. He feels that it's his responsibility to go and work and do many little tasks and bring in like $50 to feed the family. A lot of people know me, but a lot of people don't know my story. I was raised up until the age of 13 by my mother, who I also discovered was actually my grandmother 13 years later. So this hit me like a ton of bricks. And like Hussein said, what is your dreams? And that was my moment of truth. And I believe that I was sent there, not because I needed to help anybody, but because I needed to help myself. And an 8-year-old child that feels that he cannot go to school. He feels that he can't go to school. It's our responsibility to make sure that that 8-year-old child gets into school. It's our responsibility to care for Taha. And by the way, the tent was busy falling apart as well, and we were assessing that situation as well, over and above the fact that they had nothing. His grandmother was looking after him, whom he thought was his mother, and everything was just coming back to me, and all I could think of was, and this is my message to you today, that I might have been raised by my grandmother, who I found out only she was my grandmother at the age of 13, but I had the safety and security of my grandmother. I had a home and not a refugee tent. Amman School of Excellence, Amman stands for safety. We were in the most dangerous red zone camp, Arsal, the Rahma camp in the whole of Lebanon. He doesn't have that safety. I had that safety. My grandmother sent me to school and she made sure that I got an education. And I thought, what do you have to moan about? What do you have to cry about? Irrespective of all the insecurities that came with at the age of 13, which was a very difficult age. I've overcome all those issues, but I had all the love, I had all the security, I had all the safety, and I had the education. And I will continue on this journey to make sure that all of these children get an education at 16,000, as Ashraf broke it down for you, 100 Rand a month amongst how many? 16 people. We can do this. Inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Jazakallah khair, Auntie Nadia. Allah bless you and your family. And I mean to your du'as, Allah always use you and your family in the service of others. I think we're gonna go to some videos now, but supper will be served. Supper will be served. And then in the next 15 minutes, inshallah, we will start the panel discussion with the delegation members, inshallah, on stage.
Don't have education, the only way is to go out into the fields, expose themselves to all kinds of abuse and trauma, and then eventually get married and continue that cycle of not being provided for and living in poverty.
I'm Aisha Rali, and today we are here at the Syrian border. We're not allowed to go through, but we're going to be helping the Syrian refugee camps that are on this side of the border. Those are the mountains, and Syria is right behind them. This is the Syrian refugee camp. These people are away from home, a place they can't return to, but they can literally just look over their shoulder and actually see Syria.
Lebanon is going through an economic crisis. Things have deteriorated so drastically. Imagine the Syrian refugees now having to access things like education, food, electricity, and that's why it's so important for us to drive this campaign for the School of Excellence and give these kids the opportunity for a better future.
A 13-year-old's not supposed to have hands like this. A 13-year-old's not supposed to be on the field. I mean, I'm 3 times her age. Look at my hands and her hands.
والله وجع كتير كبير. يعني مغيرين وما عندنا كل شيء ما عندنا. شلون العالم ده نتعلم واحنا نحس مستقبلنا ضاع وتدمرنا يعني حتى نفكر انه ما لنا حق نفكر هيش تفكير يعني نروح على المدرسة او نلبس ثياب جداد.
Africa Muslims Agency, through the donations of the dignity tents, was able to provide them housing that is solid, alhamdulillah. But their problems still continue in that she's just 14 years old and she and her sisters have to go out to the fields every day to work from morning till evening for less than $1 a day because they are the breadwinners of the family. Their father cannot work, and so they have to go out and be exposed to dangerous environments, be exposed to physical abuse, mental abuse. So this is really an appeal from the heart. Be part of the sponsorship. Be part of changing the lives of these girls and these children through sponsoring the kids through the Aman School of Excellence sponsorship.